Hey, so it's me. I hope that you're doing very, very well. So today I'm going to show you how to just make one of my very simple art journals that I use. I'm doing a series of online classes, so I wanted to make this just available to anyone who is interested in art journaling, and just to show you how to make a very simple art journal. I've been making these for years. I used to teach classes, and this is the journal that I provided to my students, and everyone enjoyed using them. So I'm just going to go over the supplies really quick. You're going to need a pair of scissors, a pencil just to make marks. You're also going to need what's called a bone folder. That will work very, very well. So you'll need one of those. And then I keep all of my supplies in this little pouch to keep everything all organized. And I am notorious for losing things. So if I keep them in here, then I can keep up with them. You're going to need wax leaden thread. And this is just thread that has been waxed, so you can manipulate it very, very easily, and it's really great because it holds your knots in, which is very awesome when you're making a journal. But you could even use dental floss, or you could use another kind of thread too, but I like buying it already done for me. It's usually in the jewelry section. I get mine from Hobby Lobby, and they always have them 50% off, and they come in a bunch of different colors, so I always buy a ton of it because I make a lot of journals. So you're going to need some of that. And then you also want Tapestry or Needlepoint needles. And for those, I keep, so what that is just a needle that is not pokey. So it doesn't have like a sharp point to it, and it has a large eye. So these work really, really well for bookbinding. You can also do a bookbinding needle. Those work well too, but these are super cheap, and you get a whole bunch of them. So I keep them on this little metallic little device that works great because I always lose them. Okay. And then you're also going to need some paper clips. So I always keep these in here, a ton of them. And then you also need a paper piercing tool or a pokey tool. I personally like to use this. I got this from eBay. It's just called a paper piercer is what it's called. But anything that can make a hole. So you could use like a thumbtack. I even used a skewer one time. That did not work out very well, so I wouldn't recommend that. But anything that you can pierce your paper. These journals are not that thick, so it doesn't have to be anything like crazy. You know, that you have to have like a huge thing, like I don't know, something that would make a huge hole, or a hole punch or something like that. You can just use like a pokey tool. And I think that this tool is used for clay making, so you might be able to find one similar to this for clay. But you just want something that has a sharp point that you can pierce the paper with. Okay. And then you're also going to need watercolor paper. The important thing is the size, because that's what I make my covers out of. So this is the Canson Watercolor XL, and I use the 9x12. I hate cutting paper down. I never cut paper straight. So I figured out a way to make a journal where where everything is pretty much straight and you don't have to do any cutting. So this is the cover, and then the inside, it is made with cardstock. The cardstock needs to be 8.5 by 11. Okay. And I just use standard white cardstock. You could use heavy cardstock. You could even use watercolor paper that you cut down. You can use whatever kind of paper on the inside that you want, but you want it 8.5 by 11. That's the important measurements. Okay. And it comes in a pack like this, so you can make tons of journals, and it's very economical too. So you just need these two things. Okay. All right. So the first thing that we're going to do, let me just kind of clean this up a bit, is we're going to fold our paper. Alrighty. So this is my cardstock. I took out 5 pages, so that'll make a 10-page journal, which I think is the perfect size. I don't like those incredibly large journals that take you years to fill. That's just not my thing. So I tend to make journals that are smaller, that I can fill up, that work out very, very well. So you're going to take your cardstock and you're going to fold it in half. Okay. And I just put my finger right on the edge, and then I press down like that. And then I use my bone folder to just smooth out that fold. If you don't have a bone folder, you can use a ruler, or a spoon works really, really well, or you can just use a lot of pressure in your thumb, and that works great too. Okay, so I'm going to bring you in just a little bit more so you can kind of see what I'm doing. Okay. So we're going to fold all of our pages just like that. As I said, I normally use heavy cardstock, but they were out of that, so this is just standard cardstock, but it will work just fine. I put lots of layers on my page and paint so the papers get kind of thick. The only thing that you can't do on this paper is really watercolor, but it's fine for collage and acrylic paint. And you can even do a little light washes of watercolor if you put down some clear gesso, and it's fine. So just fold up as many pages as you want. Very, very simple. And I just put my hand here on the edge just to keep things kind of straight, because sometimes it likes to bulge out. And I do the pages one at a time. That's just the way I learned, but you could also just do a stack of them and it would be fine. And these are the perfect size journals. So they're just 8.5 by 11 when you open them. And it's a really nice size to make a spread, so I really love it. You can do as many pages as you want. I'm doing one signature, so a signature is just a grouping of pages, so that's what I'm doing, is just one signature. And we'll put these aside, and then let's focus on our watercolor paper. We're just going to do the exact same thing. Let's do it this like that. So I'm just going to do the edge, make a little indent. And I like the texture side on the outside of my cover, but you could reverse it. It's up to you. Sometimes I like to watercolor on the cover, so, or add lots of layers to them, so that's perfectly fine. So that's how that looks, and I have my papers all stacked up nicely. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of put the folded edges together. So I'm going to stack them up, and that will make my first signature like that. Just like that. Okay, and then we're going to use our paper clips. So I'm going to kind of pull out some supplies here. I'm going to pull out my pokey tool, my wax lead and thread, and then I'm going to get out some paper clips that I didn't drop on the floor. Very good. And then I have my needle too. Okay, that's all we're going to need, and then I'm going to bring my scissors over too. Okay. So I'm going to do that. I stack everything up, make sure it's nice and straight. And then I put paper clips on this like that, making sure that I keep things nice and straight so they don't move around too much. It makes my job that much easier. So I do 2 just on my stack of my signatures, and then I add 2 more when I put it into the cover. So you can line it up however you want. But it's perfect. See, you just get a small, like, little border, and it's perfect. And the pages don't stick out or anything. So that 9 by 12 paper works very, very well. And I'm just going to secure this to the cover just using my paper clips. Make sure you don't put any in the center, because that's where we're going to do our sewing and our marking. So again, this is an easy journal, right? So I don't want to overthink where I'm going to put my holes. So I just make 3 holes. I do maybe like an inch or 2 from the top. Then I eyeball from the bottom. And then I do 1 mark for in between those. And that's how I do it. Very, very simple. Easy, easy, easy peasy. Okay. And then I'm going to go ahead and make my holes. So the important thing for this is you want to kind of fold your book over. I never poke it like this, because if I do, then it's not straight on the spine of my cover, which I don't like. I usually end up covering up the spines, but I sell these, so I like them to be as straight as possible. So you're going to hold your tool at this angle, so a little bit diagonal, and you're going to kind of push this so that it's up, and you're going to go right through, even pressure, and pull through, and it goes right on the edge of that spine. Okay, so we'll do it here again like that. You see it's almost right there. Sometimes I think that one I shot a little bit under, but it's good. Perfect. And I'm going to do another hole here. Just like that. I think that one's perfect. Very good. Okay, so they look pretty good to me. Alrighty. Okay. Alrighty. And if it's not perfect, don't worry about it. It's totally fine. No one will ever notice. We're going to cover these up anyway. Like this one, I got right on the money on the folds. You can see there. And this is just slightly over. But that's okay. It's fine. Okay. And then we're going to go ahead and measure how much leaden thread we're going to need. So wax linen thread, sorry. So we're going to go here. I do 1 at 2.5 just because I don't like wasting the thread. I like to get as many uses out of it as I can and make as many journals as I can. So 2.5 is about as much as I use. So we'll cut that off just like that. And it gives you a piece about that size. And then I'm going to thread my needle. So I'll grab my needle here. And the great thing about this is because it's waxed, you can push it together and it makes threading your needle very, very easy. So I just grab one end, just like that. And then I just put it through the eye of that needle. Okay. And this is a thicker needle. Normally I use a smaller one, but this will work fine. It just might make your holes a little bit bigger when it goes through, but it's fine. Okay. And I'm going to bring you in a little bit more so you can really see close up what I'm doing. Okay. And I'm going to have a little bit of a tail. So this is my little tail. And that's what I'm going to use to tie it off in the end. So I like my threads on the inside of my book. So let me show you here. So these are the tails and they're on the inside of this book. If you want them outside, then you'll just reverse what I'm going to show you. And then you can have a dangle or something on the edge of your journal. Okay. And either way is fine. It all works out just fine. So first I'm going to go through those holes. In the center, I'm going to go through the center holes. I'm going to pull that through, but I'm going to leave a tail inside. So this is the tail. I'm going to leave it like that. Okay. And then I'm going to go up. So I'm outside of the journal or my cover, and I'm going to go through the hole up here, the top hole, or you could do the bottom, whatever way you want. It doesn't make a difference. Just one of the other holes. And I'm going to pull it very tight, but I'm going to make sure that I don't pull it through just like that. Okay. And then I'm going to go down into this hole here. So this is my third and final hole. We're going to go through here like that. Just like that. I'm going to pull it nice and tight. Okay. And I'm on the outside. Okay. So I went in through the journal, out, around to the bottom, and then I'm going to go back through, and that's going to close it up. Okay. So we'll go here. I'm going to go through this hole. And I did not make these very straight on the spine, but that's okay. You'll do better than me. And you see that I have this string. So I'm going to make sure that my needle goes on the other side of that. So I have one tail on this side and one tail on the other side. Okay. I'm going to pull it up just like that. And I'm going to pull everything so it's nice and tight. So as you can see, I have a lot of excess. So 2.5 is probably all you need for this kind of journal. If it was a thicker journal, I was doing a whole bunch of pages, then I would probably have used more, but I didn't. Okay. And then I'm just going to tie it off. I just make a nice net, just like you're tying your shoelaces. And I do 2 of them. And the great thing about this, if you're using another kind of thread at this point, I would put a little dot of glue just to make sure that your knot doesn't come undone. But because of this, I've never had a problem with it coming undone. So we'll just cut down this side since it's hanging a lot. We can decide how much tail we want. Go. And for these guys, if you're working in the center page and this bothers you, you can just put a little bit of masking tape and then you can paint over it and it's totally fine and it blends in and you don't get that ridge or those annoying strings if that bothers you in your journal. And then all you do is take out the paper clips and your journal is complete. And like I said, I use heavy cardstock, but you could use watercolor paper. It'll be a little bit thicker, but that's totally fine. Or you can use whatever you want. Okay, I'm going to bring you up just a little bit now. Oops. There we go. Okay. And that's how the journal looks. So these journals are so simple to make. As I said, you can customize them. So you can use like craft paper on the inside, watercolor paper. You can make it into a junk journal. You can do whatever you want. But I really love how these turn out, and they're very sturdy. Sometimes you do get a little bit of leakage here. It will kind of seep through on the edges here. So what I do is I just put masking tape, and it's totally fine, and it doesn't seep into my other pages. I tend to be a little bit heavy-handed when I apply paint, so that's what that's about. But yes, but you can definitely paint over the seams, and it doesn't leak to the other pages. So it's a very versatile journal, and I absolutely love them, and so do my students. I have one student, and she always, or a few of them actually, and they ask for them every few months. I'll make them like a batch of 5, and they pay me for them, and they fill them up very quickly. So it's a really nice size to work with. And this is what we will be using if you decide to join me for one of my online art journaling classes, which I hope that you will. So we'll have lots of fun with that. But I hope that this was an easy tutorial, that you could follow what I say. And I hope that you have a wonderful day, and happy journal making. If you make this journal, please tag me. I would just love to see how it turns out, and happy creating. Bye guys. Have a great day.